thanks for everything. I'll never forget our time together. And yeah, you too, I guess. We're gathered here today in memory of the free- Not for much longer anyways. Now before I have a breakdown crying, here's the breakdown of this video. In just a few days, the eShop will be entering that grave. So I'll be talking about games and software I recommend getting before the eShop dies. Stuff that's difficult to get through conventional means. But also just suggesting games that are available as physical cartridges that I just recommend getting soon if you're interested, because the price of cartridges seems to rise rather quickly. As I imagine most of you are seeing this after the eShop is gone, let's think of it as more of a tribute and collection of 3DS games that we've enjoyed. There's also plenty of archive projects and such, so don't panic if you can't get a certain game. So maybe some of what we suggest might be helpful even a year after this video. A bunch of my friends have been kind enough to help too, but I'll be introducing them as they appear. I suppose this is more of a personal time capsule to recall the previous era, so I hope you still enjoy it even if some of my words are irrelevant. Let's just get the time-sensitive stuff out of the way, so updates and sales information. I've seen a few videos going around of people saying that you need to download updates and your software that you've got now. But if you're seeing this after the eShop is gone, I think you don't have to panic, because on Nintendo's support website, they say, for the foreseeable future, it will still be possible to re-download games and DLC, receive software updates and enjoy it on the play and whatnot. So I don't know exactly how it will work because I'm not in the future, but I don't think you should panic if you miss the opportunity to go and try to re-download stuff now. But perhaps some games updates may need to be downloaded. I don't want to say that it's completely okay, so perhaps it's worth checking that too if you do have time. But sales. Gaming is a very expensive hobby, but a lot of the games here are the cheapest they've ever been. The sales I'm looking at are for North America's region and in US dollars, so I recommend checking your own region sales even if nothing here interests you. However, the only way to add funds currently is through a gift card, but last I checked they are still in stock at most stores. But it is worth checking whether or not you have anything left in your account. Ace Attorney, Monster Hunter, and more are $3 and less right now. I had just $2 left in my account and I was still able to get a game. I think the easiest place to start is just by talking about my favorite games. We're starting with the ones that I played the most, but I have other favorite games that will be further on in this video. There are a lot more than I can reasonably cover in a single video, so do feel free to share your own favorite games if I didn't mention them. I have to talk about Fantasy Life, as aside from being a favorite, I do think it is one of the best 3DS games. It was just announced a sequel on Switch, but I still have to recommend the original. I put hundreds of hours into this game, and I'm really not sure how many, because I've made and deleted a ton of characters when we're playing it. One of the funnier ones was that when Undertale came out, I made a Frisk character and did a pacifist run of the story. There are story battles, but you can skip them by repeatedly telling the butterfly that you don't want to fight, and then she'll magically take care of them. And that's a sentence that sounds very strange with no context of the game. But anyways, the gameplay is great, and my friends with widely different tastes in games have all enjoyed it. It revolves around picking a life, and your goals, skills, and what you interact with in the world definitely changes based on what you pick. The multiplayer works pretty well, though it only allows up to 3 people, but I have a lot of good memories playing with my friends. I have a rather recent one of a friend who just started the game, very slowly beating a nap dragon, one of the later game enemies, at level 4 and doing 1 damage at a time. And I did actually get it after we revived him, I don't know how many times. There's a lot of content, so if you want to 100% it, unless you're playing very strategically, you will have to put in hundreds of hours. If you're interested in watching it instead, I am very slowly uploading a Let's Play of revisiting the game. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, this game has DLC. I think it is the best DLC for its value I've gotten in any game. It has a new area, more story, and a challenge tower, new items, and new missions for each of the lives or jobs you pick. If you have a game and not this DLC, probably get it if you can, but do be warned, because I believe if you want to play with friends, you all need to either have or not have the DLC. Animal Crossing New Leaf. New Leaf is definitely my most played game. I think I had almost 2,000 hours on it, granted most of which is probably just me leaving my 3DS open. I just kind of liked the vibes, I guess, and would just enjoy the music and ambience from different parts of my town. My story here is actually directly related to the eShop. Before the game came out, I would just sit on the eShop every day and watch all the trailers of it there. I just have such vivid memories of just watching the trailer on the eShop of all places and getting excited about like the silliest little details. And then I went to GameStop and traded like almost all of my DS games just for New Leaf, and I definitely got scammed there, but I love that game so much I don't really regret it. I found a bunch of old screenshots, so I'll just like be flipping through those, I guess. My town was really ugly. Shout out to Marina, she's still in that town and she's lived there for actually a decade now. I loved playing with friends, I still do sometimes, because not all of my friends have a Switch, and New Leaf has a lot of really cool minigames on the island. Oh, and you can actually go to the island and go to one full of strangers, random people, and play games with them. My bestie told me how she went there once accidentally and like someone just dropped a bunch of bells and she was set for the rest of her time playing that game. But yeah, I had a lot of great interactions and like hours of playing and chatting with some stranger on the island, and then there'd be a communication error and I would never see them again, which is actually kind of wild and probably potentially unsafe, but it was fun. It was a simpler time, and maybe I'm blinded by nostalgia, but there's a certain charm about the game and it still holds up great, so if you can get it, I would recommend it, especially if you played New Horizons but haven't played other Animal Crossing games. This one is probably familiar to you if you've seen my channel before, but the final game in the Magician's Quest series, Pointy Hats and the Magic Town is the translated thing, is on the 3DS. I don't actually remember how I found the series, but I still play it rather often. It's got a lot of features I'm still figuring out, but I just really enjoy like the events and spend most of my time with just the crafting and shop mechanics of the game. And I really love a lot of the character designs, and I like to draw them sometimes. They're fun, but I won't go in depth explaining because I already have a lot of videos of this game on my channel. If you're curious, hopefully I remember to link the playlist there. I have a physical copy, but you could get it digitally if you have access to the Japanese eShop. But yeah, this is one of those games that keeps me going back to my 3DS. Themes are a feature that's always been rather charming on the 3DS, and is still unique to it in regards to Nintendo consoles. Most of the options are actually quite well done. My favorite is this Evolution one, but there are ones for most games. Even if you have no funds, there are a few free ones you might as well download before they're gone. I've seen a lot of memes lately where people have made their own 3DS themes, and I'm very glad to see the feature live on in that sense. In relation to decorating your home screen, Badge Arcade minigame lets you get badges like this that you can use to decorate it. It is free in the software section, and I'm not really sure what the game's functionality will be after this, because in it you had like 5 daily plays and you could purchase more of them, but well, since it's free you might as well download it if you can. But yeah, the customization has been something I've always loved, and I really like how the 3DS system itself is especially customizable. And this is one of the new 3DS's. I bought myself as a birthday present years ago, and you can change the plates on it. And it also has a spot for charms like just there, versus on the Switch you have to use like a dust plug one which goes in the headphone jack, or have a case with like a charm spot, I don't know what it's called. It's little things like this though that make me like this console so much, but I'll talk more about that later. I've decided to make Pokemon its own section given that there's quite a bit to cover, and most importantly, if you have the eShop, get Pokemon Bank. It's the only way, as far as I know, to transfer your Pokemon into home, and there's many Pokemon that you currently can only get on the 3DS, because I don't think they exist in the Switch games yet. It was a paid service, but I've been told that it will become free after the eShop is gone. If I'm wrong about any of that, please feel free to correct me. In terms of games, in my opinion, some of the best are on the 3DS. Alpha Sapphire was what got me back into Pokemon. Though I lost the game years ago, I did find some screenshots where I guess I was doing the Pokemon contest. Don't really remember it. I had a level 80 Skitty named something like Skitterboo, I think. But I think Pokemon X was definitely my favorite. 90% of my time was definitely just running around the city, music haunts my dreams. That was the game that introduced character customization, fairy types, Mega Evolution, had the best multiplayer menu in my opinion, And it's also where I actually started thinking about my team competitively finally and fell in love with ghost types. So when I played Pokemon Moon, I started to get like an actually decent team. And Sun Moon and Ultra Sun Moon are awesome too. But as I didn't play those games as much as I did the previously mentioned games, don't take my word for it. Listen to Dobble.
I really recommend Pokemon Sun and Moon if you haven't played them or haven't bought them yet. I'm unsure if this is an unpopular opinion, but they're some of my favorite games in the series. I think they're really charming and I had a really fun time playing them, so I definitely recommend them to people who haven't experienced them yet.
Cool beans. Now I've already mentioned some of the free software I suggest, mainly Pokemon Bank and if you care about customization, then Nintendo Badge Arcade. But there's some other interesting software you can buy, like the Mario Clock and the Animal Crossing calculator if you want. However, there is a rather expansive free to start games and demos section, which is just fun to check out, and apparently has some real treasures, which I asked my friends to share with you. Jess, what do you think?
For more obscure games on the eShop, I recommend Stretchmo. It's a puzzle platformer that's loads of fun to put hours into, and will definitely stump you at points. I think there are other games in the series, but I haven't played them, so I can't guarantee if they're good or not. It's simple, clean fun. For my kind of joke answer, I'd say check out Rusty's Real Deal Baseball. It's a collection of minigames that you need to get by spending real money and haggling with the shop owner. I don't know if this is the best minigame collection ever, but it's heavily reliant on the eShop, and I put a lot of hours into it. Definitely check it out and see if that kind of game appeals to you. I think it's free to download.
Very cool. I actually totally forgot about Stretchmo. I remember playing that the moment I saw it. And I've asked Berto too.
My unironic funny response is Toy Stunt Bike. Toy Stunt Bike, because you definitely haven't heard of it, is an eShop title that's kind of like those Flash games where you would ride on a motorcycle, and if you tipped over, you would game over. But it's that in sort of more of a 3DS format, where you have this toy stunt bike driver, and you drive through the levels, you can move forward and backward, you can accelerate and brake, and if you hit your head, the game's over, and you try to get to the end of the level. Way more fun than I thought it should be. I never actually got the full game. I played the demo maybe 1,000 times. It had limited uses, so I'd delete it and then play the demo over and over. It was really fun for no apparent reason.
Thank you, Berto. That is amazing. I'm not going to dive into it, but there is a vast virtual console selection on the 3DS eShop. But the reason I'm not diving into that is because the Nintendo Switch has its own virtual console and they keep updating it constantly. But the 3DS one has a lot of really obscure ones, and there are a lot of wonderful indie games on 3DS, but I'm not really covering them in this video because every game I would want to talk about, I checked and it's actually available on other consoles or PC, but here's some of them anyways. The same applies to the rhythm games, as most of the ones I'd like to recommend are available on other systems. However, for rhythm games, I think playing them on the 3DS has a certain appeal because of the touchscreen. For example, while I like Project Diva, I like the art style of Project Rhyme more, but more so it is a lot easier for me and a lot more relaxing to play with a touchscreen versus with buttons. And it also has Puyo Puyo, I don't know. And Taiko is also very fun, and I enjoy the controls on 3DS as well. But the rhythm game, really well designed for 3DS, is of course the game with rhythm in the name, which I'll let Berto talk about.
Yeah, some of the games I've enjoyed over the years on the 3DS include Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix, a great entry starter into the Rhythm Heaven series if you've heard of it but haven't exactly played any of the games. Contains tons of games from all the games in the series, and if you like that game, I highly recommend checking out some of the older titles like Rhythm Heaven Fever on the Wii.
Other games that I played a lot personally were like the Zelda remakes, the Kirby games, and Mii games, Miitopia and Tomodachi Life. And like literally right before Majora's Mask 3D was announced, I had just gotten it on like the Wii Virtual Shop, which I remember being really excited when it was announced, but really conflicted about having just bought it. But it's one of my favorite Zelda games for sure, so I had to mention it. I also have a lot of fun memories playing Monster Hunter, though I didn't really play them as much as I wished I could have. They've got a lot of games on 3DS, which I do recommend. There's 4 free Ultimate, 4 Ultimate, Stories, and Generations. Though I'd probably recommend 4 Ultimate because Switch has Generations Ultimate and Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate has some monsters and elder dragons that haven't returned yet. But now I'm gonna pass it to my friends because they've got some great taste in games.
So, Faithy reached out to me for recommendations, and I've got no choice but to oblige. I actually got into a lot of 3DS games after the 3DS's main lifespan, so I bought a lot of stuff on the eShop in the past couple of years. My most recommended game is Shin Megami Tensei 4. It's a great RPG that's trapped on the 3DS, unless they do a re-release, in which case you could ignore this. It's incredibly unique and a good entry point into the SMT series. I won't say any more because of spoilers, but if you enjoy Pokemon-type gotta collect them all gameplay and a mature, introspective story, then definitely check it out. And if you beat it, you can check out SMT4 Apocalypse, the sequel. If you get into the SMT series, then also check out Devil Survivor 1 and 2, which are Overclocked and Record Breaker on the 3DS. You can play either one, but they are tactical RPGs that have a very interesting setting and time mechanic. If you're a Persona fan, you'll probably enjoy these games. They're really fun, but they're very difficult, so know what you're getting into. Speaking of tactical RPGs, I'm sure all 3DS owners have this one, but Fire Emblem Awakening was a blast to play. It's an entry-level tactical RPG with lots of fun characters and gameplay mechanics. Building a team is cool, and there's a lot of scenarios to play through. And for general stuff, look at the Story of Seasons games, and the Professor Layton 3DS games as well. It's worth going through and seeing which ones appeal to you.
Hello! Faithy has graciously invited me to come and recommend things before the eShop shuts down, and so I had to do an obligatory recommendation for the game Trio of Towns Story of Seasons. I'm a big Story of Seasons and Harvest Moon fan, and this is arguably one of my favorite titles, if not my favorite title out of them all. I think that if you're the kind of person who enjoys Harvest Moon games or even just farming sim games, you might really enjoy this, especially if you appreciate dialogue. Dialogue is one of my most beloved parts of these kinds of games, and this game has so much dialogue and so many characters, which is part of why I loved it. I played it all the time in middle school and high school, and I spent one summer doing nothing but playing this game. I definitely recommend also getting the added DLC for this game if you're going to buy it. It's very affordable and it adds a lot of things to the game, such as 2 more routes and a lot more dialogue, which, as I've previously stated, is something that I really appreciate. So if you want an even fuller experience, I really recommend getting the DLC as well. Also, very quickly, if you care about Professor Layton at all, or like brain teasers or puzzles, or have been interested in the series, you should definitely pick up the 3DS exclusives before it's too late.
There's also Phoenix Wright versus Professor Layton, which is probably maybe my second favorite Phoenix Wright game out of all of the series, not including obviously, or first place being The Great Ace Attorney, because that was quite awesome. It also contains Dual Destinies, which is very close second, or maybe even tied for second, as also one of my favorite Phoenix Wright games. I feel like it's like the 3D games at its peak, because with Spirit of Justice, it kind of fell off in my opinion. There's also Pokemon and Sanrio Picross. If you like Picross, if you like Pokemon, if you like Sanrio, those are options. It's not, there's Pokemon Picross and Sanrio Friends Picross. They're not combined, by the way. WarioWare Gold is when WarioWare got a new art director, and as such they have this very cute art style that is the same artist who does the Rhythm Heaven art style. So it's a great place for WarioWare, and I think a point when WarioWare became from this small series to something that a lot of people, including me, really care about watching. Super Mario 3D Land was surprisingly enjoyable for me because I'm usually not super into Mario. Obviously, like, nobody's really a Mario fan per se, but Mario on the Go is like really enjoyable, and most people have, if they enjoy Mario enough, they probably already finished Odyssey. So if you're looking for another Mario adventure and you already played Bowser's Fury and Super Mario Odyssey, Super Mario 3D Land really is a nice experience. It's more of the same of what you would get. So those are some of my recommendations. I hope you check them out. I think they're going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you all very much. I tried to share some of my own gaming memories throughout this video, and I hope that seeing some of these games may have sparked some nice memories for whoever's watching too. To wrap everything up, I'm going to pass it over to the wonderful TM12.
Hey everyone, TM here. The 3DS and its eShop were a core part of my teenage years and really got me into handheld gaming. It introduced me to new series, and due to the console's popularity, allowed me to introduce series to friends. I played my first Fire Emblem game, Awakening, and my next with a digital exclusive version of Fates. I played Fantasy Life and its DLC for hundreds of hours solo and with others. I was able to introduce Monster Hunter to a few close peers and got so excited with them when there was a major update and the next event quest came out. For shorter experiences, I would play games such as Level 5's Attack of the Friday Monsters. I also love trawling through the themes, whether they be Mario, Zelda, Pokémon, Xenoblade, or even Art Academy. I genuinely used the TV app to watch episodes of Pokémon and Kirby in terrible resolutions. So thank you, 3DS.
Oh, thank you. That was a beautiful conclusion.
Oh, and the Wii U gave us Nintendo Land, Xenoblade Chronicles X, and Splatoon, so yay!
Yeah, I poked fun at the Wii U earlier, but I do actually really love the console and the games that it brought us. So a moment of silence for the Wii U. And not a moment more. But yeah, there are a lot of games I really wish I could talk about a bit, but as I'm cutting it close on time, I wasn't able to. But here's a glimpse of them anyways, just to show that they're not forgotten. The 3DS is my favorite console, and I think anyone who was lucky enough to own one, or borrowed a console from a friend or family, or just watched gameplay videos online, likely still has some memories with it. Perhaps it's weird to get so sentimental over a video game console and its eShop, but for a lot of us, it's just kind of been there as we've grown up. Maybe you've only opened it to play a game once a year, or you just listen to OST of games you haven't even played, but perhaps it still created nostalgic moments for you. Losing the eShop doesn't mean that the 3DS is dead. It just means that some of these games might not be as easily accessible. There's enough wonderful games to play for years more, and if a day comes when we no longer can, at the very least, we can fondly remember them.